All right, hello once again, Jeff Scott here, formerly of Rankin Technical College, and as part of my JPS, Jeff Teaches Programming YouTube channel, and in particular, my Jeff Teaches Programming Python YouTube playlist. For that channel, I've been creating or trying to create a Python program that's going to use lists to display, modify, delete, as it says, information about employees. All right. And I think in the beginning, at least, I bit off a little more than I could chew. Now, is this working? The answer is yes and no, but I want to explain everything in here. First, I imported my Python header. Then I imported Python list menu. Now, in the Python header, it's all it says in here is, welcome to my Python program. This program will utilize Python lists. Okay? That works fine. If all I put in is that, and I save this, and I run it. Welcome to my Python program. This program will utilize Python lists. Not a problem, right? Okay, so we close that one. So let's look at what else is in here. All right, and that is this Python list menu. Now you see it's grayed out because I took this line and I commented it out. If I uncomment that, of course, then this changes. So let's look at Python list menu, which is here. And what we want is the list menu. So let's look at that. Now I've changed it around. I've cut down all the stuff that I have in here, and it is giving me a problem. All right, so I'm starting to add this stuff in here. So I want to add my list methods, and there's going to end up being about 10 or 11 of them. Okay, but I'm going to do them one at a time. And the reason I'm going to do them one at a time is hopefully so I can fix this. So in here, under the options, all right, under the options that I have right here, what I have in here is add employee. Okay, now I don't think I need this. I didn't think I needed this. But over here, you know, when I have add new employee in here, all right, I thought it would just basically take it the way that it was, but it's not. All right. And we do want to add employees to this employees list. So my guess is if I save this and run it, I'm going to get an error. All right, I'm not. So let's just go on. All right, I thought I was going to get an error there, but I'm not. So I'm going to go on. What I want to do is I want to write this add new employee. Now, remember what an employee has. We've already looked at this. An employee has these 6 fields. An employee number, an employee first name, an employee last name, an employee hours worked, an employee hourly rate, and an employee gross pay. Why did I do that? Why did I highlight those? Because what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually put those in right here. Now I'm going to get an error. So let me just put these inside of there. All right. So what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to want to basically come in here and get, I'm going to get an employee number. Then I'm going to want to get an employee first name. Then I'm going to want to get an employee last name. Then I'm going to get an employee, hours worked. And then I'm going to get an employee hourly rate. Okay, so we've got in here now employee number, first name, last name, hours worked, hourly rate. All right, then we're going to have to, after we've done all of that stuff, we're going to have to calculate their gross pay. And to do that, we will need the hours worked and the hourly rate. All right. then we'll be able to add. All right, we'll be able to add things to the employees. Now, the problem with these is twofold. First of all, they haven't been written. Second of all, what am I going to do with them? Well, let's change this, and we'll call this employee number is going to be equal to this, so it's going to have to return that. Employee first name employee last name all right, employee hours worked, and as you can see, I'm going to have to move these over a little bit. Don't have to, I just like stuff to line up. Employee hourly rate and gross pay. How about employee gross pay? Okay, now the reason I'm getting these errors is none of these have been written yet. So let's write them all right now. Okay. Pause for just a minute here. All right, the reason that I paused right there is my neighbor is just mowed his lawn and now he's blowing his stuff away and it was kind of hard to hear. So let's write each one of these routines right now. All right, remember that one of the things that we said in here, let's take a look at these. This must be unique. Okay? So we're going to come in here and we're going to put this into a try and accept. So we're going to say here, now we want to input, but we want to be returning a number. So let's say int input, enter an employee number. And we'll let them know must be unique. Okay. Oops, try that again. All right. And we're going to actually need paren there and a paren there. There we go. Okay. So verify that the number inputted is indeed unique. Well, we'll come in here first. Then we'll just say input employee number. Now I'm putting a ton of documentation in here so you can understand what's going on. So I'm going to say here, if this employee number is in emp 0 for emp in employees, don't worry, if they got errors, we're going to fix them in just a minute. All right, we want to raise a value error. Let's just put the error message right in here that says how about this? Each employee number must be unique. Okay, And if it works, where we didn't raise it, we will just return the employee number. But if we did get a value error, we'll just print it like that. All right, now we're getting this right here, and I think it's because we're not passing in here employees. Okay, which means that we're also going to have to pass it in here. Okay, so the employee number is get employee number. We try, so we attempt to input. So attempt to input an employee number. All right, now we want to verify that it is indeed unique. If it's not unique, we raise this and we return. Now this is if it's not unique, so if it's already in there, we want to raise this and we want to return the number. Okay, I think if this is an error, we need to return something as well, unless we put this, let's put this all into a while true. All right, and then we'll move this, tab that over. Here we go. All right, so come in there and attempt to input an employee number, which we say must be unique. Verify that it is indeed unique. If it's not, we'll raise a value error. And if it is, we'll return the number. All right, now this is gray. I'm trying to figure out why. It says here, emp number is unbound. Well, we're putting it in there. And I think it's might be that it doesn't recognize emp number. No, it shouldn't be that. Not sure why that's gray right now. All right, but I'm going to continue on. Okay. So that's the first thing. That's the employee number. All right, then next, we have the next thing that we have to look at in here is the first name. All right, I'm going to see if I can, let's see. I don't think I'm going to need to pass anything in there, but we're going to call get employee first name. All right, so again, we'll put a while true in here. And I'm going to say first name is equal to input, enter, employee, first name. Try to pretty this up just a little bit. Okay, so we're telling them to enter it. If it's true, if we put something in there, we're just going to return it. Otherwise, we're going to print first name cannot be left empty. Please try again. Okay. And that should ask them to do it again. Now, let's copy this. And let's put in last name here. Oops. So this is enter employee last name. If last name so we now have in here our first name, our last name, and now the next one would be hours worked. Now this will be a little different because what we have to do in here is we have to verify that the hours worked fall within the range that we wanted it to be into. All right, so let's come in here and let's put in our constants. So I'm going to come in here and say min hours equal 0.00, max hours equals 84.00, the minimum hourly rate is equal to 0.00, and the maximum hourly rate is equal to 99.99. Again, those were arbitrary values that I came up with. So we've got these three things. So the next thing is to get the hours worked. All right. So again, we'll put a while true in here and another try. Because this could raise a value error. So try, whoops, I don't know why I keep doing that. Try, and we'll say hours worked equal. This one will be a float because you can work part of an hour. All right. If now there's a little bit of a shortcut that you can put in here. So I'm going to say min hours less than hours worked less than so if the hours worked is less than basically we're saying if it's between these two. That's valid. All right, that's a shortcut for saying if. In fact, I'll comment this out, and we'll do it the way that typically I would be doing it. And that would be if hours worked greater than or equal to min hours and hours worked less than or equal to max hours. Whoops. Less than or equal to max hours. All right, so if it is one of those, we just want to return it. We'll just return hours worked. Otherwise, we will print, let's do an F string here, hourly rate must be between min hours and max hours. Please try again. Okay. Now, it is possible that I put in something that wasn't numeric. All right. Or some, basically I left it blank. So we will say in here, except with a value error. So if that happens, we're just going to print input was invalid. Enter a number between, we'll make this an F string. Okay, so that should handle that, hopefully. And I'm going to copy this, and I'm going to come down here and paste it in. And this will be get employee hourly rate. And actually, oh, we did that right. That was hours worked, so this should be hourly rate. Hours worked. And this one should be hourly rate. Let's be between min rate and max rate. Input was invalid. Enter a number between min rate and max rate. Okay. So I believe now I have my employee number done. All right, my first name, my last name, my hours worked, and my hourly rate. All right, so now I can calculate this, and I have to pass these in. I got the wrong name here, so what I want to pass in is employee hours worked and employee hourly, whoops, that was nifty, and employee hourly rate. All right, so we need this. Not there. Copy. It's kind of big. So let's just change this from employee hours worked to HW and hourly rate to HR. Okay. And we can say if HW less than or equal to, and we could use 40, but I'm gonna add one more here. I will add our max non-OT will be equal to 40.00. And our overtime rate will be equal to 1.5. Move these over a little bit. Okay? All right. So, if the hours worked is less than or equal to 40, which means max non-OT. So if that's the case, the gross, let's just set up gross here as equal to 0.00. So if this means, again, no overtime worked, so the gross is just going to be equal to the hours worked times the hourly rate. Otherwise, the gross is going to be equal to the hours worked times the hourly rate plus the hours worked minus max non-OT, so that's times the hourly rate times the overtime rate. All right, and after we've done all that, we can return gross. All right, so now we should have everything. We now have our employee number, our first name, our last name, our hours worked, our hourly rate, and our gross pay. Okay? So we can now attempt to add new employee. Okay? So employees, well, that's an employee. How about an, oh, you can say employee. So employee is equal to the employee number followed by the employee first name followed by the employee last name followed by the employee hours worked followed by the employee hourly rate followed by the employee gross pay. Okay. What the heck happened there? There. All right. So attempt to add new employee. So employees dot append employee. Okay, that should be everything as far as adding a new employee. So you can see how complex this can get to be. Now, can I hit enter here and hit enter here? Just want you to be able to see everything I'm doing. So what are we doing here? We're setting the employee number. Now that we need to check against all of our employees, so I have to pass that employee list in. When we get the employee number, we attempt to add it and make it an int. If for some reason it's not an int, or we leave it blank, we should be raising a value error. So if it's not in there, all right, so we could come in here and do this. Could come in here and say if emp number equal nothing, or now I'm going to have to bring in math here. All right, I've done this kind of thing before. So or is NaN emp number, and that's math.isNaN. That's why I'm getting the error. All right, so if either one of those happen, I will raise a value error. And say employee number cannot be empty or non-numeric. All right, so here we're going to come in and we're going to verify that the number, that the value inputted was not blank or non-numeric. All right. If everything's cool, we should hopefully be returning it. Then we come in, and our next two are pretty easy. Getting the first name and getting the last name, they're virtually the same thing. So we're saying input it. If it worked, meaning there's something in there, we return it. Otherwise, we say it cannot be left empty, try again. Then we do the exact same thing for the last name. Input it. If it worked, return it. Otherwise, say that it can't be left empty and try to tell you to do it again. Then we get over to hours worked and hourly rate, which again are pretty much the same thing. So for hours worked, again, while true. Now this can be left non-numeric or blank, so probably I should make the same change in there. Let's see, otherwise printed, it must be left in there. Except value error. I'm going to try to leave it the way it is and see if it works. So we're telling you to put in a number for the hours worked. If that number was between 0 and 84, return it. Otherwise, say that the hours worked must be in there, try again. Okay. And if we got a value error, meaning we left it blank or non-numeric, all right, I'm worried about leaving this blank here, but we'll see. Okay, and we're doing the same thing again for hourly rate. Now that was actually one of the biggest ones that we had to do in here, because to add a new employee, we had to call 6 different routines. All right. For example, the next thing we want to do in here is to clear the employee. Well, that's pretty simple. Okay. We can say employees dot clear, and then we can give a message. So print the employee list has been cleared. Okay, now to do that, and I move this out, I'm going to try to see if I can bring this back in now. Let's see if it works. I'm just adding these things incrementally to try to get all this to work. Okay, so let's see. we've got that. Let's put a comma in here. And there's that one. So that's number 2. Okay. Now we haven't done very much in here so far. So our next one, our next method, so far we've come in here and we've added, now we need to do the copy, which again is pretty easy. Return employees dot copy. I think we're printing that in there too. All right, so I don't want a list name here. I want that again to be employees. Okay, so we should be able to now bring that one hopefully in. So this I can remove. Again, a comma there. And there's number 3. So we now have our first 3 things done. All right. Next, we want to do count, which is right here. And we can just say something like, let's use an F string here. There are a total, I'm trying to be consistent here, are a total of, we need the len function. And the len of what? The len of employees. Employees in our list. Okay, that's really all we need for that. So now we should be able to bring that one in. We don't need that one anymore. So we can bring in this one. All right, so far we've got the first 4 in here. Okay. So we've got adding a new employee, clearing our employee list, giving you a copy, and giving you a count. All right. Now again, I'm up at 37 minutes, and unfortunately I have a phone call, so give me a second. I'll be right back. All right. So I've got my first 4 options in there. Okay. And we have to continue on then. So the next thing that's in there is to find the employee at a certain index. All right. Now we have to say the list, and we have to not prompt, we'll put in here number because that's going to be basically the employee at that index. All right, so what this is doing simply is it's going to go through the list of employees we have. If it finds that there is an employee with the number that we provided up here, it'll return that employee. If it goes through the entire list and doesn't find that number, it'll return -1. All right? Hopefully, that makes at least some sense. Okay? So that's our next one. All right. So again, adding a new employee, clearing the list of employees, giving us a copy of our employee list, giving us a count of how many employees there are, and finding basically an individual employee based upon his or her employee number. All right, so the next thing that's in here is going to be to insert an employee. Let me just grab that one right now. All right, so for right now, I might get an error when I put this in, but it's okay. Comma there. There we go. So we are giving the user the chance to insert an employee wherever they want. So let's say that I wanted to put this in some kind of an order based on employee number, and I put in 1, 2, 3, and I skip 4, and I put in 5 next. And now I want to go back and I want to add employee 4 and put it in that position. Okay. All right, so let's write that method, which is right here. You'll notice we've got about 5 or 6 more methods to go here. So this is insert new employee. Now, a lot of it's going to look familiar to what we did earlier. So number equals, actually, let's see. I think we're going to be doing almost the exact same thing we did right here. Where are you? Employee number, first name, last name, hours worked, hourly rate, gross pay, attempt to add it. The difference is, in this case, we're going to add it, we're going to append it, or put it onto the end. And otherwise, what we wanted to do was, this should say end of employees list. Now again, because I like to kind of rewrite these as I'm going along, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add new employees again, but I'm going to I'm going to add in here what's called number. Okay, now don't worry, I might get an error and it'll get fixed in just a moment, because what I want to say is, if number equal 1, then attempting to add employee to end of employee list. Okay, so move all that stuff over. Else, if that's an elif, number equal 2, then we are attempting to add employee at a certain position. All right, so I can do this. I can grab all this stuff again. In fact, let me grab this. All right, me grab all of this, put it in here. Now, we don't want to append it there. We want to do an insert into our employees list at whatever position. I call this number. So we're going to put in here position as well. I can't. I don't want to do that. I'm going to try to see if I can do this. Employee number, which will be the 1 or 2, and I'm going to say here position. Let's see if I can set it to a default value. By default, I want to put it at the end, so len of employees. Again, I'm not sure if this is going to work or not, so it's not defined, it's defined right there. All right, we're just going to say position here. Number and position. We don't even have to use position in here. Can I give that default value equals 0? I think that'll work. And here, I want to insert the employee at that position. Added to position of employees list. All right, so when I pass this one, I will now have to change this so that when I'm adding a new employee, I have to make sure that I pass in a number 1. Okay, and this one, to insert a new employee, this will be employees 2 with that. Hopefully that'll work. All right, we've got pop next. And that's to remove an employee. Alrighty. Save all. So to do this, for the insert new employees, again, I'm going to have to call add new employee, pass in employees, pass in the number 2, pass in that's what I want to pass in there, is that position. Oh boy. So that is calling it, and it is passing it the position right there. Enter position to insert new employee. So employees, we'll pass that in. That's the number, and we'll pass in position. All right, then we've got pop. If, good gravy, Jeff, if position is greater than or equal to 0 and position is less than or equal to, actually less than, len of employees, employee to remove equals employees dot pop. I want to pop at position. Be nice to give them an error, a message too. So print with an F string, employee removed. Close that. From position. All right, so like if I say I want to remove employee number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it should say employee 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 removed from position. If they were in position 6, it'll say from position 6. Else, print invalid position inputted. Please try again. There we go. All right, now next we want to remove, so we've got 4 left. Remove employee by employee number. So that's number 8. right, let's save all. Go back to here. Here's our remove employee by employee number. You can see what's left. Okay. Let's see. I'm looking at, I've done some stuff in here that I wanted to do, and some of it I've used and much of it I've not used. Alright, so I'm going to call this routine in just a second, called find employee index, but let's write it first. And that's going to need our list. And a number. You already write this. Find employee, there it is. Find employee index. -1. So we've already written that, so I don't have to write it again. That would be stupid. So it equals find employee index. To which I will want to pass in my list and the index. Okay, if that index is not equal to -1, that means I do have somebody that I can remove by number. Equals otherwise, we put in something and we tried to remove an employee. We gave him a number that didn't exist. Okay, that's that. So next is the reverse, which is real short. Just going to be employees dot reverse. And I suppose we could also do a print here. The employee list has been reversed. Okay. And let's see, so what's left? Got through 8. There's the reversed. Let's do these 2. The sort's going to be very short as well. All right, so we've got sort employee list. And we'll say, just grab this one and change that to sort. So employees.sort. We have to tell it when we're going to sort it, what we're sorting it by, though. So the key is going to be equal to, no spaces, lambda E0. And all we're saying is right here, sort by employee number. All right, the employee list has been sorted by the employee number. All right, so all that's left now is display. And there we want to print out the list of employees. All right. For employee in employees, print let's see. First of all, let's just make sure that we've got this copied in there. All right, that is our entire, that's all done. I don't know if this is going to work or not, but this is all done now. So file, save all, let's close this. And this, and go back to here. So we're going to attempt to print out everything here. So let's start with an F string. And we'll say employee number. Employee so this will be what's at employee 0, because that'll be what's in the first position. All right. Let's do a \n here. You know what? I'm going to print this over multiple lines. I don't have to do that, but I want this to look decent. So there's the first one. I'm just going to go and put in here about 5 or 6 of these. All right, so we've got employee number. Next we'll have employee name. And that'll be number 1. Followed by a space, followed by number 2. All right. And then another blank line. And here we'll have employee hours. And that'll be 3. And then we'll have employee rate. and that'll be 4. Now I could play with working with I could play in here with locales like I've done before, but I'm just going to add a $sign. All right, and the hours here, I'm going to do a math.round, and we'll make sure that this is to 2 decimal places. And we'll do the same thing here. All right, so we've got that, and we'll have employee gross, and that'll be 5. Again, we'll add the $sign. Now we can, rather than rounding this, we can do this, which I think is going to be a little cleaner. So we're going to say :2F, which means put it in floating point to 2 decimal places. Okay, we'll do that, and we'll do it here. And we'll do it here. And you know what? That actually should be everything. All right, now it's waiting here for something. Unterminated expression means someplace in here I did not end this correctly. Looks like it's in this one here. We don't need to round anymore. There we go. So file, save all. Now my guess is this isn't going to work. All right, I've got all the components in here, but I don't think it's going to work right now. So file, save. So I'm not getting any output. The good news is the program's basically finished. The bad news is there's a little bit of finagling that I'm going to have to do in here. So I'm going to do that in the next lecture because I'm already at 1 hour and 8 minutes. So I'll be back with that one shortly.